Another option in weight loss surgery is gastric bypass.
We would really consider the gastric bypass the gold standard of weight loss surgery. It's been done since 1967. We've been following patients for long term. We know that there aren't terrible long-term ramifications. Patients can sustain that weight loss for a long period of time. There are kind of two components to the gastric bypass. The first is that we make a small gastric pouch, and it's about as big around as your thumb. Then we bypass the top part of the GI tract, divide the bowel downstream, and bring it up to that little stomach pouch. So food goes through the esophagus into the little pouch and then directly into the small bowel, bypassing the top part of the GI tract.
The gastric bypass is made up of two components, restriction and malabsorption. The restriction of the gastric bypass happens when we create a new small stomach from the larger stomach. The malabsorption of the gastric bypass occurs when we bypass the small intestine to a certain extent and not all the fat that people eat gets taken up into their bloodstream, thereby going right through their body and decreasing their caloric intake. Some of the best things about the gastric bypass is its quicker weight loss. The average patient loses their weight between 9 and 18 months. It's also paid for by most insurance companies, so if your insurance company has the benefit of bariatric surgery, they usually will cover the gastric bypass. And one of the other benefits of gastric bypass surgery is its great long-term weight loss. We have results out 15 and 20 years showing that people, once they lose weight with the gastric bypass, truly can keep it off long-term.
So some of the benefits of the gastric bypass are that the weight loss tends to be the fastest, and also people tend to lose more weight than with the other procedures.
The bypass is a great operation for people who need to lose weight quickly. It's also a great operation for people who are diabetic or hypertensive or have a history of strokes because it's so effective in reducing patients' cholesterol and insulin and glucose levels.
It's really important to realize that this operation has been around for a long time. It's been done very safely for a long time. And there are a lot of things that have changed in the last 10 years that have made this an operation that's even safer than having your gallbladder out.
One of the good and bad points of the gastric bypass surgery is the dumping syndrome. Dumping syndrome is when you get nauseated and stomach cramps and you feel sweaty because you've eaten something sweet or high in carbohydrates. This is good for most patients who have the dumping syndrome because they're not tempted to eat the sweets or the high carbohydrates.
The benefits of the gastric bypass include quicker weight loss, greater weight loss, dumping syndrome. It's been extensively researched and is covered by most insurances.
When we look at drawbacks of the gastric bypass, we're really looking at two different things, the short-term things and the long-term things. So short-term, although they're very infrequent, they can be life-threatening sorts of problems. Things like leaks, abscesses, bleeding, and those are things that can be life-threatening. Long-term, some of the drawbacks of it, you can get malnutrition, where you actually need to get some kind of supplementation for vitamin and mineral deficiencies.
The biggest drawbacks with the gastric bypass are its long recovery. Typically people take around 2 weeks to get better from having a gastric bypass.
We usually keep patients in the hospital just overnight. In general, they'll go home the day after surgery. But they probably plan on taking 2, 3, sometimes even 4 weeks off of work before they're really feeling like they're functioning at their full potential.
The second drawback for the gastric bypass is its difficulty to reverse.
We're actually going in and rearranging your anatomy. It technically could be reversed. We could go back and hook things up, but the reality is that we'll never work the same way that it did before surgery. So this is a long-term permanent fix. You would anticipate that that's always going to be what your anatomy is going to look like. One thing that's important to realize, if you've chosen the gastric bypass, you need to be committed to a lifetime of follow-up. You can develop vitamin, mineral, nutritional deficiencies that may not show up for 5 or 10 years. So checking regular labs, following up with your physician are an important part of catching those things early, getting on top of them so it doesn't develop into a big problem.
The drawbacks of the gastric bypass include a longer recovery time. This procedure is not reversible. There is a risk of malnutrition. Complications are fewer but tend to be more severe, and dumping syndrome. In a 3-year study of 218 gastric bypass patients who started with an average BMI of 50 had an average ending BMI of 26.
My name's Leanne Jensen. My surgery was September 13th, 2005. I wished I had have done this 25 years ago.
My name is Letitia Grimmett, and this is my husband, Derek, and I've had the gastric bypass surgery.
I was over double of what I weigh right now.
On July 14th of 2008, I had the gastric bypass surgery, and now I've lost 180 pounds. I haven't been this small since I was 10 years old.
Before the surgery, life was miserable. Didn't do anything but sit on my butt, didn't go anywhere. I would go to the kids' baseball games or football games, always sat and watched them. Never ever was able to get out and play ball with my kids or sit on the floor and play cars and trucks with them. Just very inactive life.
At the end of high school, I weighed 350 pounds, I believe.
Finally, the scale kept getting big, larger and larger, and I think the light bulb came on when I went to Walmart and I tried on a 3X, and it was too tight, and they only had one more size to go, and that was a reality check.
My dad died when I was 12, and I refused to let my kids lose their dad early.
I hated watching Gold's Gym commercials and Bally Gym commercials. I hated watching the fit people. I was like, turn. That will never be me.
Didn't go to concerts, didn't go to movies because I couldn't fit in the seats at theaters. Just didn't do anything. Went to work and went home, and that was about the extent of it.
They say do 20 to 30 minutes. I couldn't do 15. Even after the surgery, I was doing 10 and 15. I was exhausted. So it was like, I can't exercise the way you want me to because I'm too tired. My body hurts, my back hurts.
I'm very empathetic towards overweight people because I try to have conversations with people. I almost go out of my way to have a conversation with someone who I can tell is overweight and struggling with it, and let them know that I know where you're at. This is an option. If you have any opportunity to do this, you should look into it.
I have to track her down to find out where she's working
I'm at the
out.
gym no matter what, and I'm mad at any occasion that stops me from going. Like now they invite me out. This is a weekend, it should be exciting. We're invited to cookouts. I'm like, I just want you to know that you're interfering with my gym time.
I've told many people I'm living. For 50 years of my life I didn't live, and I'm living now.
I run around, I chase my kids all over. I jump like I'm a crazy wild animal and make all sorts of funny gestures, and it's a blast.
I get out, I play ball with the kids. I've been on the trampoline with the kids. I've tried roller skating with the kids. I've been on rides at amusement parks. I've done motorcycle rides. You name it, I've about tried it now.
Everybody's starting to get a little bit more fit because now
Yeah.
my kids like to go and work out with her.
Yeah, they
and
see me working out, and I take them with me when I pick them up from work.
And I wished I had had this surgery many years ago because I would have liked to live longer than, the next 110 years.
But to just tell somebody who's thinking about it, don't think, go through with it. Search out every option you can find to do it, because it is so worth it. I call it an investment because I invested in my own life. It is the best investment that you can ever make.
Definitely worth it.
Yeah, the surgery is definitely worth it.
I wake up every day, and on my ride to work, honest to God knows, I say every day, thank you. This was so worth it. It was so worth it. Every day I'm grateful that, I wouldn't have it any other way. I would have never made any other decision. This is like one of the best, decisions I made personally in my life.